Welcome to Overnight Market Brief, Pre-Market Edition by AGI Era. Good morning. Today is Monday, January 5th, 2026, and it is shortly after 8 a.m. Eastern Time. This is your executive summary of global market developments, analyzing the overnight flows in Asia and Europe, the key macro drivers, and the setup for the North American Open. The prior session and macro context. First, a look back at Friday's close. Wall Street finished on a mixed footing. The S&P 500 settled at 68.58, up 0.19%, while the Nasdaq 100 edged down 0.17% to close at 25,206. Crucially, the session saw a notable divergence, but the real story right now is in the macro assets. Right now, the 10-year Treasury yield is trading at 4.168%, down 0.67%. The U.S. dollar index is up 0.29% at 98.45, while crude oil is up 0.7% around $57.82. Gold has seen a significant surge, up 2.07% to 4,494. The decline in the 10-year Treasury yield is providing a tailwind for growth-oriented assets this morning, despite a stronger dollar, which typically acts as a headwind. The geopolitical developments surrounding Venezuela's Maduro capture are influencing crude oil prices and broader market sentiment. Overnight session, Asia and Europe. Moving to the overnight session, global markets have been largely positive, albeit with some regional nuances. In Asia, the picture was mixed. In Tokyo, the Nikkei 225 finished up 2.96% at 51,832.8, benefiting from a weaker yen following comments on rate hike talks and positive factory activity data. Meanwhile, in Greater China, the Seng was largely flat, up a marginal 0.3% at 26,347.24, while the Shanghai Composite rose 1.37% to 4,023.42. The divergence reflects ongoing concerns about China's services sector, which expanded at its slowest pace in 6 months, contrasting with broader mainland strength. In Europe, major indices are trading with a cautious but generally positive tone. The price action suggests a degree of resilience, providing a constructive lead-in for U.S. traders. To U.S. futures and the open. Turning to the U.S. pre-market, equity futures are trading higher. S&P 500 futures are trading up 0.30% at 6,921.25, while Nasdaq 100 futures are up 0.67% at 25,555.25. The relative outperformance of Nasdaq futures suggests investors are rotating into growth and technology names, a move supported by the overnight dip in the 10-year Treasury yield. The daily catalyst. Looking ahead to the session, investors are focused on 3 key catalysts. First, the ongoing geopolitical developments surrounding Venezuela and potential U.S. actions, which continue to influence oil markets and broader risk sentiment. Second, the release of China's services PMI data, which showed a slowdown in activity and will be closely watched for its implications on global growth. And finally, Japan's factory activity data, which indicated a stabilization in demand declines, offering a nuanced view of Asian economic health. With a light economic calendar for major U.S. data, flows may be driven primarily by technical positioning and reactions to these international developments. Given the overnight setup in rates and the dollar, the market's path of least resistance appears to be range-bound, with a slight upward bias pending any surprises from the geopolitical landscape. That concludes your overnight market brief. Disclaimer: this podcast is not financial advice. Data may be delayed or inaccurate. Always conduct your own due diligence.